Welcome to this episode of the Comedy Defect podcast. My name is Winter, I'm a comedian, and this is my show. Those that are new to the show, welcome. Those that are old to the show, thanks for coming back, guys. I hope you had a good March and you went out on Paddy's Day on the 17th and you got up the next day and you had an awful hangover and you nursed it with a nice fry. And maybe if you went home to Ireland to celebrate Paddy's Day, or maybe you went to New York and had a good time there. I mean, I hope you had a good time and just, got some great pictures, had some fun. Just let your hair down a little bit, Hey, spring is here as well. It's sort of like a pagan festival that just kind of breaks the monotony of winter. It's still bitterly cold out there at the moment, though. So, you know what, look, if you were out on the tear, you wouldn't have felt it anyway. But I hope you had a good March, and it's kicking off now. Just spring has sprung, There's a bit more light in the day, and we can kind of enjoy it a little bit more. And the kind of black cloud is slowly starting to clear, and you can hear and feel the summer is approaching. I feel like I'm very Terry Wogan right there. Anyway, look, I hope you had a good March anyway, and it's kind of like things are working out for you and you got through the first 2 months unscathed. But look, if you've got things that happen to you, tell me. I'll mention them on the show, but if not, hey, look, we'll keep motoring on. Now, this episode is with a comedian that I met years ago now. It was, 3 years ago now, 4 years ago. And he's excellent. I'm not going to butcher the whole conversation because I just want you to listen to it. And he's absolutely brilliant. If you ever see him on a bill or, you hear of him that's coming down to your like town hall, your live comedy club down the road or anywhere, his name, look, is Jonathan Mayer. He supported Sarah Millican on tour. He is absolutely a ball of energy and an absolute delight to be on a bill with, and just such a wonderful, powerful act. And that's all I'm really going to say until you hear the podcast. So this is episode 96 with the excellent, undeniable, and pure brilliance of Jonathan Mayer. Enjoy.
I actually have got dressed to try and make myself feel a bit more alert than
that's it. Rather than because even the masks make me feel like I'm wearing a blanket over my face and I should just be going to sleep. That's what it is.
Just go to sleep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, my conspiracy theories thing is not helping with that. They just want me to go to sleep and not think about anything. Just put a blanket over my face. Maybe it'll be a pillow next.
I think you can run some conspiracy theories in tandem. I mean, I do think the masks are important, and I do think we should wear them.
Yes.
But I also think that this particular government is not averse to the idea of taking freedoms from us on a permanent basis.
Very true. This is it.
So I think it's okay to go, yeah, I'm not completely happy with the way things are going, even though I see the necessity for some of it.
So how are you coping with this situation at the moment?
I would say badly. I had COVID. I actually had it in late October all through November and sort of got better in December. And I was really, really ill. I was determined not to go to hospital because I thought if I went into hospital, I would not come out. And I'd said to Leon, there was that 2 or 3 days, wasn't it, where I was really bad? And he said, it wasn't 2 or 3 days. I said, what do you mean? And he said, you were terrifying for about 10 days. Wow. About a 10-day period where I was apparently really ill. And I've not recovered. I've just not recovered. I mean, right. You can hear that I'm back to myself, but I'm getting a real insight into what it is to have a kind of ongoing kind of illness. The example I usually give people is that we've got our little dog. Well, not that little. She's a sort of street dog. She's knee high. We walked the Thursday before I got it. We walked 11 miles, and that was fine. We were doing that on a reasonably regular basis in the week, and now I can just about get around the local park, which is 1 kilometre. Oh. And I'm like. And then any exertion and I'm exhausted, and I've got about a 4 to 5 hour day, and then I need to go and lie down.
KO'd wow.
I know, it's not ideal. That's not brilliant, actually.
How many months ago did you get the COVID?
I can tell you exactly when I got it, actually. Because I gigged on the 18th, and I had what I thought was a cold on the 19th, and that was it then.
Wow.
Of October.
October, wow, that's 4 months nearly, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, my doctor said, to be honest, it could be anything up to 6 months. Don't worry, it will go away, but, just don't get overexcited.
Are you dosing yourself with vitamins and all this kind of stuff as well, trying to,
I'm trying to, but again, my doctor said, is there anything really to do? She said, no, not really. Oh. I mean, you're welcome to take vitamins, but basically that generally means you've got very expensive urine.
Wow.
Okay then. Well, supplements don't. Not a lot of supplements really work. They just go. You just pee them out.
Right. Okay.
So like vitamin C supplements don't necessarily work. You have to try and get it in your food, don't you?
True.
Trying to eat veg.
Otherwise, you just like start to you start losing the ability to absorb it from your food, isn't it? All the work you just go, I can't be bothered, and I'll just take the vitamins. That's what your body does, isn't it?
I'm just going to KFC and die. I think that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I guess at least you get your antibiotics from there as well, couldn't you? You know, from all the chicken.
Yeah, I suppose yes, and chlorine. That's always good to do, isn't it?
Inoculating yourself from the via. You know, I mean, in fairness, 1 of your 5 a day. There you go. five prescriptions a day. That's what we need. Like, so just need to go McDonald's for breakfast and then KFC for lunch,
and then a nice Pizza Hut for.
Yeah.
I can't say it.
Probably maybe a Pizza Hut really at the end of the day to sort of like maybe seal it. You know, so you don't say.
God, yes. Oh, that's disgusting.
So don't fully evacuate yourself, you know, from the processed chicken and the other meat.
Are we done? I've had enough.
It's been great. So you had a gig on the 18th. Then what was that?
It was in Leeds. It was a nice. It was the Conservative Club, but it isn't anymore. It's a really lovely gig, actually. There's this double act that compares it. Oh yeah, it's a Tony Vino gig. Yeah. So I'm really helpful to you, aren't I? Tony Vino.
Yeah. And how was it? Was it well attended that night as well?
It was socially distanced, obviously. So I mean, in as many people as they could have in, they had in. I've done it once before, the year before, when it was rammed, and it was just great. Lovely gig. And of course, it was the one live thing I've done in the last however long. But yes, it was about the only gig I got, because it was just in that gap where we'd just come out of measures and it was sort of okay, and everybody's trying their very best, and then
just like champing at the bit, just trying to get on stage and get some joy back into the crowd.
I deeply regret it now because, well, not because I can't course it, because it takes like 10 days to a fortnight to get into your system, doesn't it? But I presume I was at my absolutely most infectious. So I dread to think like how many people I could potentially have given it to. And I was wearing a mask and I was very careful and all of that stuff. But if I'd realised, I just wouldn't have gone out at all. Yeah,
of course. But you don't know, do you? That's it. How do you know, isn't it?
I was absolutely fine that day. It was the next day it started.
Like, Jonathan, I met you like in Hull in the comedy lounge in Hull, of course, and it was.
Is that the one that was the actual club?
Yeah, but it feels like a 24-hour cash converters, doesn't it? It looks like on the outside. That's what it looks like, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're right. I've only ever done it that once. I think that I got an encore.
Yeah, you were amazing.
And I nearly killed that man.
Like, you know what, right? I'm not going to just say this just to blow smoke up your arse. Like, honestly, you in the last I'm going about nearly 10 years now. In the last few years, you're the only act I've ever seen that get an encore without just walking onto it, without kind of going, oh, they want some more from me, I'll do it. They loved you, man. They just didn't want you to leave, it was lovely.
I am the only act on the circuit that ever gets that. It was just one of those. I don't know what it was. It was one of those nights. I don't know what it was that made that happen. I've not had that particularly.
It's probably me going on the middle. Actually, it's probably me.
I think you sorted the rim out. I'm trying to visualise you, and I can't. But I do remember that gig, partly because, of course, of that response, which is, as you say, so unusual. I think for anybody really.
It was wonderful.
I have done a couple of encores, but sometimes it just comes together, doesn't it? You're just the right person in the right space.
Yeah.
And you can't put a foot wrong for some reason.
That's right.
It's sort of the opposite of dying.
Yeah.
Where you can't fix it. Oh, fucking hell, but these jokes work everywhere else. And it's sort of the opposite where you go, oh my God, I just dropped my glass and I'm hilarious.
You're the go-to for Sarah Millican, aren't you?
Well, I was.
Support?
I haven't actually done that for a while.
Right.
Sarah's. I think she's got mainly women now, which is obviously fine. I haven't done that for a while, but I was her first warm-up, and I was her TV warm-up. And I was the warm-up on several of her tours, and I did DVDs and things like that.
Brilliant.
But we haven't done it for a bit.
For
whatever reason. I don't know, love.
I
don't know. We're still pals and stuff, but I haven't worked with her for a bit.
Sad ending to that.
Well, I've done her new material nights, actually. That's
great.
I have just done her new material, which was great, actually. It was fun.
I like, but as I say on the circuit, I've never seen anyone like get such a warm reaction who are fully on board. But I mean, the thing is, you say like, hey, it's just either die or if you die, you sometimes die. Sometimes you just get a lukewarm response. But then it was just everything. He was putting a foot right. I think because I went on in the middle. I was last before the end, wasn't I? I was last in the middle section, and I died for the first three. I died for the first 3 minutes, and I was really struggling. And some guy heckled me at the very beginning, and it's like took any bit of momentum out of my set, and I was like, and I didn't really have a response because I was like, and you said to me, you were too nice to them, and then after the 3 minutes, I got thoroughly pissed off because I'd driven 4 hours to Hull. And I was like, now fuck this, and I was like, then I was like, right, and then I got 4 rounds of applause in the end, and I was like, well, and then I was like, oh, that's it, and I was just like, oh, this is and then you said to me when I came off, you're like, Winter, you started badly, but you brought them back, and that is the harder thing to do than the other way around.
I really think it is. I think that's where it really lies. But also, it's interesting, isn't it? I think the best attitude to have, if you possibly can, is, oh, well, fuck this then. Yeah. Because then you just do your actual funny stuff comes out.
Your skill and your power was such just irreverence. You're just like, yeah, fine, just do it. Here we go. And you're like, yeah, it's just great. It's just great to watch. It's really fun to watch. I know. Was it like?
Is this going to be the podcast?
Yeah, I'm just going to give you compliments.
You could tell me how marvelous I am.
Yeah, it was great. And I'm
not sure I'm all right with it being broadcasted, but if you could do it every day, I'd be totally up for it.
I mean, it's going to be recorded, so you can play it back. You can edit the best parts out and say, "You're great, Jonathan. You're just great." Honestly, it's really great. Honestly, I say, like,
edit me out, so it's just a tape. And I can listen to it as I go to sleep. Which is, oh my God, you're brilliant.
That's it. Yeah, like better than any meditation out there, right? That's it. Just positive affirmations by Winter. I mean, maybe that's my selling point. You know what I'm saying? Like my wife said to me last night. She said to me, "You've got your laugh, Winter. You should sell it to a horror film or something like that." I was like, I mean, I'll take it as a compliment. It's like comedian makes millions from his own laugh.
Yeah, I had an idea one year I was gonna. It was a joke. It was a drunken joke, really, but. Glenn Wool and others used to kind of call me and say, "Jonathan, I've got a reviewer in. Can you get to my show in Edinburgh?" Yeah. And I'd run over and sit there bellowing because I've got this ridiculous Victorian laugh. And loads of people used to say, "Could you possibly come in?"
Great.
Because just somebody laughing like an idiot. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And then I thought, actually, what I should do is just do 1 year, just do a Jonathan Mer attends, and it's just be me wherever I'm going to be. It's just, this week I'm attending Glenwool, I'm attending so and so. I'm going to see.
Nice. You're the clacker, so like you're in the you're just like giving them all. That's great.
Join me and laugh like an idiot.
That's great. I say like those little laughing groups. They don't do laughter meditation when they just sit
yoga.
There. Yeah, it's a bit mental, isn't it?
Well, yes, but it does apparently work, and I can believe it because there is some sort of evidence to back it up, isn't there? That if you smile, your system releases the same endorphins that it would do if you actually meant to. And laughing is a similar thing. Laughing is a similar thing in that when you laugh. I mean, it's going to sound awfully pretentious, but there was a woman on the circuit years ago, and I've forgotten her name, and that's why I'm a terrible person. She actually started doing a course, as in teaching a course on laugh therapy and the sort of mechanics of laughter. And one of the things was that false laughter, faking a laugh, also produces these hormones that make laughing afterwards easy, which is why I always make the audience fake a laugh at the beginning of a show when I'm comparing, because it actually means the laugh after that will be easier for them because they're already, even if I haven't made them laugh, if I make them go, weirdly, that has a psychological effect on them such that the act comes on and they're an easier audience. Isn't that weird? It's so weird, isn't it? But that's what laugh yoga is based on, is the fact that if you just stand there going, ha 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 ha, you actually feel more like laughing when you've done it.
And now it's going to evolve into like a heckle put down, isn't it? Like, look, mate, just fucking laugh. It's like yoga, okay? Just let it out. Come on, just get on it.
You've paid your money. You're not getting your money back. You may as well just laugh.
Yeah, let it go, mate. Let it go. Who are you saving it for? So you're. How long have you been going, Jonathan?
I've been. Are we recording now?
Yeah, we're recording, mate. We're already started.
Recording all along.
Yeah.
I have no idea because we're so chatty. I had no idea. Yeah, I've been going. Oh God, I started in about 1863.
There's a laugh. It hasn't evolved. You've evolved. The laugh has stayed the same.
I started. Oh, actually, yes, it is interesting, John. The very first gig I ever did, where I was technically stand-up, was actually in 1999, and it was on... No, that's a lie. 2000. Let me try this again.
Yeah.
I'm a very, very elderly gay, and there was a lot of ketamine in the 90s.
It's all edited. Don't worry, it's all edited, mate.
I met my husband in 1999.
Nice.
I actually started... my official on the circuit date is April the 18th, 2002, which was at the Buzz Club.
Right.
The legendary Buzz Club in Chorlton of Mancunia. But actually, I had done one gig, but it was a community lesbian and gay thing. My friends in the rugby team sort of basically forced me to do, because I was dithering about whether or not to get started. It was a very earnest concert with a lot of lesbians with guitars singing about cats, and
cool.
And then me. It was brilliant. I loved it, and then I actually got this gig with Agamemnon in the April of 2002, and then I was really lucky, because 2002 Manchester was just booming. The Comedy Store was about to open up, or had opened up, and people like JJ Whitehead and Jim Jeffries and Steve Hughes moved to Manchester to be where the circuit was at. And I was barely off stage all of that year. That's not fair. It started slower, but as I picked up momentum, there was just loads of open spot work.
Great.
And so I went professional by the time, about 2004, I went professional.
Wow, brilliant.
I wasn't only, and that, it's been great ever since, really. It's been great ever since. I've not been poor or out of work or overlooked by television. I'm fine, Winter.
No, I hear that. It's fine. Not bitter or twisted in any way. No, that's fine.
This isn't painkillers you hear me taking.
I wish them all the best. Everyone, every single one of them the best.
I'd really like to see a young open spot do a new material night that I'm, say, hosting, and then to watch them regularly on panel shows. That's the thing I enjoy most. No. I don't think that's the way to approach it, is it? You cannot, because you would be crazy bitter if you actually did that. I actually really do. There's quite a few people that I've seen start and who are now big names, or getting to be big names, and I think it's just really exciting. It's really nice.
Oh, it is.
Especially, I mean, up until this year, Winter, it's fine. I mean, I was very happy being a jobbing circuit comic, and that's the thing I miss this year, is the audiences. I miss the people that you meet and the crazy situations you end up in. I think there are very few jobs where you get to see as much of life and as much variety, as many different people. I think there are very few walks of life. I think we're very lucky.
Very much so. It's different, and it creates a momentum in your own life as well, doesn't it? You finish a gig, you're like, okay, great. Well, where's the next gig coming up? You just get ready for that. You keep writing it. It has a. I
love when you say keep writing, because yes, I do that all the time. New comics say, oh, what should I do? And I go, you should write every day. Never let a day go past writing. I'm thinking, you hypocrite, man.
Yeah.
You absolute hypocrite. But it's true. That is the way to do it if you're going to be a professional.
Yeah, but like you know, that's the thing. You hear some people say, "Oh, I write 300 jokes a day." No, you fucking don't. No, you don't.
No, you might write down 300 sentences a day. I think it depends. You don't know whether they're jokes.
Yeah.
I'm terrible. I'm also. I've not yet perfected. Well, at least I feel like I haven't yet perfected the ability to write down something and go, that's just funny. I know that's funny. I know that's going to work. Because every time I do that, and I write, say, half a page or a page of stuff, and I try, and this is why I'm really struggling now. Is because it's only when you get out in front of an audience and you just look down at the page that you actually know whether you've got anything to say that's going to make the room laugh. And quite a lot of the time, I've got through new material nights, not because I've written brilliant things, but because I react well to the rubbish that I've written down. And I think some people can actually sit and go, here is a joke that I've written, and sort of hand it over. And I don't know. I still don't know how they do that. I wish I could learn that trick.
It's your sheer force of personality, isn't it? Meets the materials in it. Yes, you've got that. It's just like, it's brilliant. I love. Do you know what?
The content's garbage, but
no, not at all. Not at all. It's like we're gonna go all to talk about like it's like a recipe for food now. It's a fusion of personality and material. Okay, I'm gonna record this and put this into that audio track that you're gonna be listening to every day.
How marvelous
but like that's the thing. It's like, but that joke. There's a joke in there that you did the night. Well, no, fucking what I'm saying. 2 years ago.
Years ago.
I'll do the classic. Oh, the other day.
In the afore times.
In 1864.
The afore times.
Before the disaster.
It does feel a bit like we're telling stories in the wreckage of Sydney Opera House at the end of Mad Max, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Remember the afore times when we gathered in real life.
Oh, it's reaching back into the recesses of my mind. I can still remember. I'm just telling it. I'm really, you're not really even telling a story to anyone anymore. You're just saying it so you actually remember it yourself, isn't it? That's what old people do. Yeah. Not that I'm old. Like 25 to 40 age playing.
Just move on. I am.
So that joke that you did, like with, I'm not going to butcher it, but it's you did it after you smashed the for like 5 minutes at the very beginning with your like big energy, and you brought it down. So look, it's all very well laughing and everything, but I will be selling tickets. For I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. But I've been saying that joke to say, just for example of you. I've been saying, have you met John? Yeah, of course. And they go, this joke's brilliant. It's brilliant. It was one that made me laugh and then laugh again later because it was just such a shocker. It's great.
I use it a couple of times. I'm afraid I quite like that little device. You take the audience down a shaggy dog story that's really poignant, and if you can act at all, you can suddenly talk about. I mean, I do it with Leon's Parkinson's. I can do it with stories about that. I can do it with the stories about my mother's Alzheimer's. And the trouble is, audiences are sentimental creatures, and so because I think now we live in a place where people are really cagey about putting the foot wrong and saying the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So most of the time, although occasionally I do get nasty people laughing because they're looking at me going, I don't believe he's doing this really. And I think, I respect you because that's who I would be as well. But most audiences will just go down, oh my God, he's talking about Alzheimer's. That's nothing to laugh at. Oh, and he's treating it respectfully. Well, I'll go with him. And you take him ages, and you can really draw it out sometimes, and it's wrong. And then you smack them with the disgusting punchline that shows them the degenerate mass that is your brain. And I love doing that.
Yeah.
I deeply love doing that.
Yeah.
It's that and saying something truly disgusting in as posh a voice as I can manage. That somehow, and where the audience goes, they can't quite believe that they've heard it in a sort of 50s Radio 4 accent. And I there's something about those two little devices, and they're such cheap little devices, but I love doing it.
Brilliant. You've opened them up, and and you've just absolutely ruined their mind with that. They've just fully accepted everything you've said.
I'll take ruined their mind. I'm all
That's
right
lovely.
with that
It's
at my
lovely.
age.
It's just like, that kind of that device you say there. It's like it's wonderful to that especially with that encore as well you did, and there's another joke that makes you laugh. It's horrific.
I don't know what. Was that the
how you?
story?
I'm not going to say. I'm going to ruin the joke, but it's how you look. God. That's what you said. You said you're only laughing at me because blah blah blah. And
that could be anything.
Because of like it's to do with Jordan. It's to do with Jordan.
Yeah. I might have to remove that joke. People are getting too sensitive about it.
Oh really? It's brilliant.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
It's nasty, is what it is. It's not. I'm not sure it's brilliant, but it's certainly vicious.
No,
I think if I'm absolutely honest,
I
might have to credit Davy Johns with the kernel of that joke.
Right.
So it's not even mine. So in which case I should certainly retire it, shouldn't I?
Right.
Because if I can claim Davy Johns wrote it, then he hasn't been on the circuit in years.
Yeah.
So it must be knocking on.
But he's doing films now, anyway, isn't he?
He's a superstar.
That's fine. But like, there you go. I mean, he can give you a little something to keep going on. But like, you do look like that. You do look like that. I mean, well, not totally, but of course.
Why don't you? Do you know what? Also, people listening, nobody's going to have me a slightest sense of this, because one, we're not told them the joke, and two, they can't actually see me.
And do you know what, right? Fuck them. That's fine. They got to come see you live, isn't it? It's like this,
That's true, yeah. In the near future.
No, but like Jonathan, you're. I mean, I say you're one of my favourite performances I've seen live in the last few years. Fuck me.
You can say that, Winter. Why don't you say that now?
I'll be honest. That's it, mate. I'm just like, you started like in, I say 2001. You say 2001?
2000 yeah. Well, I always say 2002, really, but I did do that one little gig in. But what basically happened was, I joined a gay rugby team, like you do. Started doing all the social secretary stuff like I do. And then one of the guys had a pub and wanted somebody to do a quiz for them. So I started doing that. And it was all very casual. And I had a proper job at the time.
What was your job?
Did I work for the council then? Or was that, I did with the Lesbian and Gay, as it was then, Foundation. I think I still worked for the council for the bins department at that point. That my life was full of glamour. So I joined the rugby team. Basically, Jonathan Paler, I don't know if you know that name, but Jonathan Paler was a regular on the circuit at that point. And he and his boyfriend started coming to my quiz. And my quiz, having started off as quite a straightforward pub quiz, it ended up being me ranting at an audience for about 2.5 hours about whatever had pissed me off that week, interrupted by these questions. And I had all these stupid little things and catchphrases and things that I did with the audience, and the regulars all knew what they were. And Jonathan basically came up to me and said, "You should do stand-up comedy." And I just said, "Piss off." I couldn't think of anything I'd want to do less than stand-up comedy. I couldn't imagine being able, and I at the time I just assumed that stand-up comics wrote all the jokes they said every single time they walked on stage, and I just couldn't imagine. Little did I know that was not the case. And he persisted, and after a while the rugby team heard him and dared me to do this Lesbian and Gay gig, you see. And so that's how it sort of started. And then I got my first proper circuit gig. I remember being very proud. I was at the Buzz Club, because I don't know, do you know the Buzz Club?
No.
Buzz Club was very famous in Manchester. It went on for about 15 or 16 years in Chorlton on a Thursday night, and loads of massive names like Eddie Izzard and Alan Carr, and actually far back from that, legendary people on the circuit. Hovis Presley and John Hegley, I think, did it, and you know, people like that, like really big names from the 90s did it. I'm really not giving you a good list actually, but I know people like Manford, everybody like that's done it. I'm pretty sure Millican did it. I know that Gary Delaney did it. I know that Paul I'm just you know,
loads.
You just run your Figdaro.
Stalwarts of the circuit,
all of that lot. They've all come up through the Buzz Club, so it was a really big deal for me. Because once I'd started to get into comedy, I'd started to get an idea. That was my first ever gig. I started there, so I was obviously going to be a huge star. Although hilariously, I remember Agraman brought me on by saying, he brought me on the first time, and I was doing it in sort of semi-drag at the time. Yeah. And the first time he brought me, it was fine. I had a good gig. Brought me back not long afterwards, and then said, I shouldn't really. I know, I'm sure he's moved on in the intervening period of time. We've all moved on, but it was hilarious. He went on just before I went on in my semi-drag and said, "Do you remember last week we had that transgender that one last week?" And the whole audience just went, "Yeah." And he went, "And you remember that it was shit?" And they all went, "Yeah." And he went, "Well, I wouldn't want you to think we're becoming that kind of club, but here's Jonathan Mayer." And brought me on stage, but because it was the Buzz Club with like the ultimate like trained comedy audience, they were just ready for him, because he was always a very, very, very strong character, a great booker, and so they just went, "Oh, okay, hooray!" And then were lovely. I just remember going, "Oh, what did he just say?"
But that's the kind of thing that was your first gig. That was your first intro to
that will be my second time I did it at that club. But the first time he was very nice to me.
That's funny. That's
telling
funny.
Very confusing story.
That's great.
Confused.
No, starting from -50 because he knows you can deal with it.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it was more that the audience could deal with it, so he didn't have to be. Yeah, I missed that club. It was a lovely club, actually.
Do you remember your first joke you wrote?
I'll have to wait until I've done it, love.
It's going to be ready soon. It's going to be ready.
I don't really think of myself as writing jokes.
Right, yeah.
Every now and then I write a joke. I write stories. All my stuff is sort of true stories, true-ish stories. My mum came to a gig at the Royal Exchange because she was very impressed that I had a gig at the Royal Exchange in Manchester. My Royal Exchange is dead posh. And she was sat there with some of my friends who were kind of poshish middle-aged women. Actually, they were, one was an opera singer and one worked at the BBC, and so she sat amongst them and she was very happy because she wasn't completely overjoyed that I was a stand-up comic to start with. I was going to be an opera singer, and that was a very acceptable form of show business, but stand-up comic, it's really letting things down. And anyway, so she'd sat there I remember my friends, I told these stories about her, and they are true stories, but they're sort of shaped for stage. So like I've got a mugging story, but it's actually 3 or 4 incidents meshed together.
Yeah.
And anyway, I remember my friend saying, "Are your stories true, Jonathan?" and I was breathing in, I was taking the breath to say they're true to a certain value of truth. And my mother, with immaculate timing, I was so impressed. She just leant forward and picked up her coffee, and she leant forward and she said, "He's always had the most marvellous imagination," and then leant back, and nobody believed a word I said after that. I was like, yeah.
No. So
I get a lot of my humour from my mum, actually.
Yeah, gallows humour.
She was a bit of a cat.
Great.
She was funny because she was a vicar's wife and head teacher and stuff, and quite a respectable character, but she laughed at some of the nastier things I said as well. So there was some of that in there.
Great. Acerbic wit.
Yeah.
I ask this of every person I talk to. I said, like, now, when you go on stage, like, for example, Sean Mio, when he goes on stage, he says he's like a gunslinger when he goes on stage. If you were to describe yourself as like any kind of person, or like any kind of like individual, like a job or something like that, what would you say you go on there? and like, it's a hard question, I know, right?
I've never thought of it like that.
No?
I suppose.
No?
I suppose, I tell you, I do think of when I do the warm-up for Countdown, or I used to in the Four times. And I've always thought that was rather like hosting a slightly formal cocktail party where you have to kind of make sure everybody's having a lovely time. We all want peanuts. And I suppose I'm some of that. I like to feel like I'm like a bit of a hostess, you imagine a 50s kind of kind of a poshish 50s hostess in one of those big satin frocks, who's got a party and they're enjoying themselves, but they have to make sure everybody else is enjoying themselves, and there's a certain amount of hello, how are you, hello. So I suppose that's the closest. I wouldn't think of myself as gunslinger.
That's it.
Although sometimes I get ready for a fight. It does depend on the room, honestly. I think you react, don't you, to the room? Yeah.
Like your
gunslinger's interesting. That's really kind of combative, isn't it?
Very much.
I'm not sure I'd see it as quite such a... I think like that more when I'm comparing, because I feel like it's important to... Well, my route towards comparing is to tend to dominate the room in order that the acts have an easier time of
That's
it.
right.
But whether I think that when I'm doing a set is another matter. I don't think gunslinger's right.
First line of defence for the acts you as a compere, right?
I'm more like especially with a rowdy room. I go on and smack the audience about, or I try. I go on and smack the audience about a bit so that they know that the show started, and actually, and I make it clear that they're going to get me back. And they're going to be nice to people, aren't you? Yeah. And a bit like a parent or a slightly strict supply teacher. Yeah. Or more to the point, so, you know when you got a supply teacher in your school, and the head of the department would come in and say, right, Mr. Jarvis is ill today, and so we've got Miss Brown here, or Mr. Jenkins, who's filling in for today. Now I know you don't know them, but you've got work to do, haven't you? And I want to come back here in an hour's time and find you've all been very good. And what they mean is, if you step a toe out of line and make this poor, 22-year-old's life a misery, I will kill you all. More than that's sort of my approach to comparing.
More than it already is. Like they're a supply teacher, right?
On, and they are my baby, and if you touch them, I will kill you.
That's great. And but I can really see you in that kind of role of like, is the 1950s hostess, like, who's the party's going well? Is everybody okay over here?
Everybody will have a cocktail. Exactly.
Now you're getting a bit rowdy over here. I think you've had enough now. Okay. You fucking get the fuck out. Get the fuck out.
Take you away because you're getting too excited and put you in this quiet room.
Exactly. I don't know who invited you. That's great. I mean, you've been performing for years, as you say. You were an opera singer to start with, then. And
well, no, I was a singer. I've sung all my life. My father was a vicar, so I sang in church and cathedral choirs. Was a course guard, and I did genuinely plan to be an opera singer. That was the plan. But I wasn't good enough when I grew up, which is, it's not unusual. It's like being a ballet dancer or an athlete. The slightest physical thing,
of course,
means you can't do it because it's sort of elite, isn't it? But I did a bit of acting. I'm a so-so actor. Yeah. I'm just generally trying to show off, and comedy was a bit of a lifeline, really. Great. I rather lost hope when I found comedy.
It's like the last route that's hanging off the cliff, right?
It never occurred to me it was there. You see, because it wasn't a feature of my world as a teenager in the 80s, because comedy when I was growing up and watching television was sort of Morecambe and Wise. The good comedy was sort of Morecambe and Wise, and the bad comedy was Bernard Manning. And so there was no place for me. In my house we had some Joyce Grenfell albums, and I loved those. But that's more review and it's monologue-y rather than the way that I see stand-up, although there's a lot of stand-up in it as well. My mother loved Hinge and Bracket. I remember that, although I don't think she'd ever seen them live, because they are rather a different prospect live. Right. Or they were. Do you know Hinge and Bracket?
No, I don't. What are these?
My God, you're so young. Hinge and Bracket were a drag queen couple in the late 70s, 80s on, who played, there were two young men, they were about late 20s in the late 70s, and they played two elderly retired women, Dame Hilda Brackett and Dr. Evadne Hinge. And Dr. Evadne Hinge was a doctor of music, and Dame Hilda Brackett was a retired opera singer. And they were really good musicians, and Dame Hilda Brackett could actually sing falsetto. And she'd come on and she'd say, "Well, dear, so what do we do?" And they did all these radio shows. They were quite respected. Like, they did one show which was about opera and had really high level opera singers on it, and they had a TV series, and they had all kinds of things. My mother loved them, but they actually came from the gay clubs in London. Right. And if you saw them live, they were filth. Yeah. Well, except when I saw them just before one of them died, and in the late 90s, early 2000s, they towed a brilliant line of absolute filth, but done in such a way that the elderly people in the audience kind of could laugh along. It was a very interesting, very British mix. Yeah. And the audience was entirely teeny tiny little old people in hairnets and massive gays. Yeah. That was the whole audience. Massive gay. Great. I went with the gay rugby team, and it was, honestly, our row was teeny tiny old person, three massive gays, teeny tiny old person, four massive gay, and that was it. There were no, as far as I could tell, no young heterosexuals in the room at all, apart from possibly the lighting riggers.
I think that people don't give credit to the older people and having a sense of humour, about stuff. They go, "Oh, there's old people in. It's going to be difficult," and they're just filthy. Like, they let it go. It's like, "Fuck, I don't give a shit anymore."
Old ladies are the dirtiest class of people in the world. And when you're doing pantomime, you do jokes on different levels. You do them for the young kids. Yeah. You do the jokes for the parents, and then there's another layer, and the filthiest layer, and that's for the grannies. Yeah. They are dirty as. My husband, when I first met him, was a politician, and I helped out in a couple of election things where what he used to do is drive around and pick up the old ladies and take them to the polling station so they could vote. And I remember the first time I did it, the first pickup, he was driving, I was in the passenger seat, and these three old ladies, and they looked like proper Queen Mother type, proper old ladies. Yeah. And they were going out, so they dressed up. They got nice, frocks on and coats and brooches and hats and handbags and the works. And you had never seen anything more respectable looking. And the first one got into the car, and she went, "Oh!" And the second one went, "Ivy, what is it, dear?" And she said, "I thought I sat on something." And the second one said, "You haven't sat on anything since 1996. And the third one leant in through Leon's window and said, "That's when her husband died." I was like, "What? What is just here?" Great. It was amazing. And they sat, and then the 10-minute journey, they basically discussed which one of them was going to get Leon and which one of them was going to have to put up with the boy, me.
Yeah, right. That's great.
Amazing.
And that's already just like kind of like crowd control already, right? Like, okay, ladies, just easy. I'll be doing the jokes today, or we just like.
I love old ladies in the audience. They're absolutely marvelous. Great. And I do that thing I do, which I can't believe I get away with it, but somehow I do, is when, especially with an old woman, old men it's less funny for some reason, but with old women it's hilarious. And I say, "Oh dear, hello, are you all right?" And I say, "You're going to be okay. I'm going to use language. I might talk about bum sex." And they always go, "Yes, that's fine." I say, "Yes, I bet it is fine, you dirty trollop. I bet you kept morale up during the war, didn't you? You mucky cow." And they fall about, "Oh, great. Yes. Couple of tangerines and a pair of stockings. I bet you were anybody, weren't you? That's why the Polish never went home." And all this, and they laugh like drones. Or also you say, how old are you, my darling?" And they go, "Oh, I'm 83. You got, "Ladies and gentlemen, 83," and the room will immediately, you clap, and I go, and you lean in and with a big smile and go, "They're clapping because you're not dead." That is just wrong. That shouldn't work. But they love it when you do that. I've yet to meet a woman, an old lady that didn't just fall about laughing.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So you've been going like what? Oh, God, Jesus, 19
millions of years.
19 years now.
20 million years.
Wow.
20,000 million years. Yeah, but 19 years in April.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. And so,
unless we count December, in which case it'd be 20 years now.
You must have had like some great gigs, of course, but like some horrific gigs as well.
I had one in Hull that you can talk about.
No, that was wonderful. I'll top.
An encore? Did you say an encore?
I'm going to top and tail this. I'm going to talk about it again at the end, right?
No.
It's like a callback, right? That's what it is, right? So. We're going to just like, we're just going to inflate at the top.
Fascinating gigs. Unexpectedly good gigs and unexpectedly bad gigs.
Yeah. So tell me about the horrific ones that you've kind of gone, oh my God, I didn't know. Like one that just strikes in your memory that you're like, what the hell happened there?
Well, I've got a few. The inexplicable ones are less easy, but they get rarer. You tend to know what's happened. I remember the ones that were worst were where you can sort of see them coming.
Yeah.
There was one Christmas time gig, and I walked into the room, and I just knew it was going to go badly because it was a corporate. I think it was like one woman out of 100 men in middle-aged men in business suits.
Yeah.
They're all work colleagues. They're all at those club tables, so big round tables, really spread out. And this is the other thing, I'm not experienced at this point enough to flex and deal with this situation. This is relatively early on, and I thought I know that, and there is this thing. It's changing a bit, but it's still the case. You get a group of too many heterosexual men in a room for me, who are of a certain age, that sort of fading alpha male, and they can't laugh at me even if they think I'm funny, because they're worried that the people around them will think they're gay. Or there's some root in there, and it's just that double think, isn't it? As soon as they've got a concern that makes them wonder whether they should laugh, the laugh is already gone.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to fix that. And I think the thing about those kind of deaths though is there was a route through that room. There was a way to make that okay.
Yeah.
I didn't find it that night, but it was horrific because I was there all through the show, and I just knew every single thing they laughed at, and that they didn't laugh at, and they weren't a nice audience at all. But I just thought, oh God, oh my God. So I mean, I may even have talked myself into that one. The other one was I did a golf club out somewhere near Blackburn type way.
Yeah.
They hated me with a fiery passion. They really, really hated me, and I know exactly what I did. I told they didn't like my colour and they didn't like my sexuality.
Right.
That was really, really clear, and I really don't like saying that because that feels like I'm copping out. Oh, I would have been hilarious if they hadn't been bigoted, but it was like really, it's just really palpable, and I'm thinking, okay, there is a. So initially, I tried to sort of because this wasn't so long ago. It wasn't so long ago, and so I did have a bit more ability to sort of tiptoe around it. So I did for a while, and then I forget what happened. Well, I got heckled or something, and I just lost my temper, and so I told a really graphic joke, which I knew they would hate. And I basically, I've got this way of finishing when I die these days. I tend to just go, well, I've been marvellous and you've been unappreciative, but I've been paid to be here. Bye-bye. Because there's a point, and I mean I've seen some great. I mean Glenn Wall and people. Glenn Wall keeps coming up in mind because I think he is one of the greatest circuit comedians I've ever seen. There are one or two others who, Glenn I'm thinking of now because I remember him doing one particular gig where he was absolutely dying the death, and he acknowledged it, but didn't acknowledge it in a way that got a laugh, just said, oh, okay, can he fix it? And proceeded to fix it, to make it okay, and I really worked that room. And I've seen people like Jared Christmas working really hard to fix a room and getting back. And I tend not to do that. I tend to be like, you hate me. And I'm all right with that. Yeah,
that's it. You mirror them, yeah? You just go,
fine. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much value... I mean, the trouble is, if you're the last one on in the night, that's a bit more difficult. But if you're in the middle section, why waste their time? Let them get to the bar and enjoy the last act. Don't torture them.
That's true. Sometimes you book for a gig or like a corporate especially. What was the corporate company, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I don't know. Years ago, love, can't
It's
remember.
like,
I'm not even being discreet, I'd tell you.
I remember being booked for a paper company. Oh God Almighty! Like, and it was in a hotel, but it was around a balcony, and like there was no focal point whatsoever. So I was completely surrounded. It was a fucking nightmare. I did a recce on the place and had about 5 minutes on them, and then I was like, okay, well. So I said I was really new, and I said right. After my 5 minutes on them, it was going great. I said, right, that's enough about you. Let's talk about me. What a stupid thing to say. Like, I could just ease myself into it, but no, I just went, no, fuck you. I'm talking about me now. What a dick. Like, but yeah, like
sometimes you see the other thing is you walk into a room, you look at it, and you think, oh my God, this is going to be from hell.
Yeah.
And gigs where there's no focus, or working men's clubs are often really badly laid out for stand up as opposed to music or old fashioned comedy. I've got this little these great. They're a lovely charity. I'm doing a quiz for them. But anyway, it's called the Pug Thing, and it's in North Manchester, and it's some very ordinary people who rescue dogs.
Right.
And I've done a couple of gigs for them now. And the first one I walked into, and I just thought, oh my God, because it was one of those working men's clubs with a big dance floor next to the stage, and then strip tables, so nobody's facing the stage, and there's comfy chairs all around the edge and at the back. So the first chairs that fill out are the furthest from you.
Yeah.
And you know, you're supposed to be on the stage, but you've got like 20 foot of line between you and the audience.
Fuck.
And you're just like, oh, and because the people, that audience, who are just ordinary Manchester people from North Manchester, but this was their night out, and they were going to have a good time. I have rarely had as much fun. Great. It was brilliant, you know, and that's the difference. I think is that the audience coming going, this is going to be brilliant. We're going to make this brilliant. We're up for this.
That's right.
And if you get that, then you're away anyway, aren't you?
That's it. You got to be invested in it. Otherwise, it's like, fuck it. You just why exactly like we said before. Why are you here?
Stay at home.
Yeah,
take that mood and stay at home.
Exactly. Just flick that on your family. No one else wants it.
Stay at home and put things in your eyes. We don't mind.
And so, like, you've done some acting before. You're a Hollyoaks as well.
I was in Hollyoaks, yes. I was a huge success in the one episode I was in. I believe it was up for no awards at all. And I played myself, basically. That was hilarious. They had this plot line. There are these two brothers, and the younger brother was a virgin. His older brother couldn't work out why he was so shy around women. And decided in this episode that he must be gay, and so took him out to a gay club where there was a drag queen doing a pub quiz. I don't know who you think played that. And what happened was he basically came out on the microphone because I was doing the and so and so and so and so, and they're sort of having their conversation over my head. Obviously they're on microphone. And I put the microphone to his face just so he said, "I'm not gay, I'm a virgin," like this really loudly. It was brilliant. I had such a laugh. Basically, the script was fine, but it wasn't amazing. And I said, "This isn't really the." And there was one bit where I was quite misogynist, the character. And I said, "This isn't really what I do on stage. I don't say things like this." And he said, "Oh no, we don't. You don't. This is just a guide for us. You do it, right? Just do it as if it were a show." And I went, "Oh really?" And they went, "Yeah." So we did another take in which I just did my bit, and everybody was falling about laughing. It was absolutely brilliant. They basically came out and said that was absolutely brilliant. But we essentially can't use any of it because I use name celebrities and brand names, and I didn't even think about it, and so I had to sort of then re-edit and did another version. But yeah, it went really well, and I got a fisting joke into Hollyoaks. I've never been so proud of myself. Yeah,
brilliant.
The first thing I did on screen was I came around with a collecting bucket, and I was supposed to say, "We're raising money. Will you give me some money?" So I came on camera and went, "I wonder if either of you boys would like to jam something in my bucket," and and the older brother, trying to show off to his younger brother because he was trying to say, "I'm proud of you, gay," puts a £20 note in, and I went, "Oh, big hands and a giver. Thank you. Mind the rim," and. So I was very proud. I feel like I raised the tone.
Brilliant. And like, do you do any more acting apart from that, or have you?
No, I mean, I did Panto a couple of years back, and that was absolutely glorious.
Who were you in Panto?
I was Slave of the Ring. Again, no jokes. For Preston, it was a joy. I really enjoyed myself. Except they were quite delicate about the innuendo because they had a lot of schools in.
Oh, right.
Said, you can't say anything too rude. I said,
Brilliant.
well, yeah, but there's like a ring. There was literally a ring, and you rub it 3 times, and I appear in a puff of smoke, right? So if I say to Aladdin, just rub my ring 3 times and I'll come as quickly as I can. Right? If a 5-year-old says, why are you laughing, mummy? You say, oh, it's a funny man. Because you can say, there's a ring, isn't he? He rubs it 3 times and then he comes as quickly as he can, doesn't he, darling? That's what innuendo means, but they wouldn't have it. And I went through various iterations of that joke, you can imagine.
Brilliant.
I'll pop it,
That's right.
until eventually I ended up saying, rub my ring 3 times and insert your own innuendo into it, and which I think is actually just filthy because there's no meaning in it, which means it's a bum sex joke, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. It's great.
Yeah. So anyway, but everything else was brilliant. I met all these gorgeous children, just adorable kids, and I loved it. Amazing little window into the world of that very young child. So I was travelling home on the train from Preston every day. And one day, put this huge group of little kids with 2 or 3 mothers, and they all saw me because, of course, I'd washed my face, but I had glitter all over my face. Yeah. And they all saw me, and I sort of saw that they were chattering, and I waved at them, and they all waved back. And then we got on the train, and one of the mums came over and said, "Wait, I'm so sorry, and I know you're not working anymore, but do you mind if they come and sit with you? They are so excited." Yeah. And I said, no, I would love it. I'd absolutely adore it. So I had all these little kids, and I'm sat at a table with as many little children about the age of 4 or 5 crammed into the seat next to me. And in particular, one little blonde girl who wanted to sit next to me because I was her favourite, and she just stared at me like open mouthed. I was like, well, this is marvellous. And this little boy said, he said, we've never met anybody famous before.
Great.
And I said, I'm not famous really, darling. He said, yes, you are. You've been on telly. And I said, oh, no, that wasn't telly tonight, darling. That was theatre. The television is where they do something, film it miles away, and then they send it out to everybody. This is theatre. This was happening in the room. So that one show was just for you. That was just a show just for you. That with her, and he looked at me with wide eyes and he went, "Oh, television just for me." Oh, bless you. All right, nearly. And then this little girl.
It's I love it. You spent ages explaining that to a kid, and he just went, it took to last 5 words.
Yeah, I got some of that. And then this little girl, and bear in mind we're on like a Northern Rail cattle truck late at night from Preston, and she tugs on my sleeve, this little tiny girl, and she said, "Why are you on the train?" And I said, bearing in mind, every time I've appeared on stage, somebody's rubbed a ring, and I've gone, and there's been an effect, and I've appeared. Yeah, apparently. Yeah. But what I actually did was a firework, and I just stepped out from the curtain behind it. So from my point of view, it was nothing, no big deal.
Oh, that's great.
Said, "Why are you on the train?" And I said, "Well, I've got to go home, darling." And she said, "But you can travel by magic." That's a really good point. Why am I on this disgusting cattle truck of a train when I can just click my fingers and travel by smoke? And I ended up saying to her, I said, oh, well, what's happened, dear, is I've done it so many times for the show that I'm tired now, and I'll have to wait till tomorrow to do it again. I thought, and that won't be the last time you hear that story, love.
That's great. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. You at least you kept the magic alive rather than just like.
They were so gorgeous.
Oh, that's great. So gorgeous. Oh man. So have you written any sitcoms? Have you written any films or anything, Jonathan?
Yes, I've done all of that. I'm very prolific. Yeah. I know all of that stuff that Diane Morgan's been in.
Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
All of Charlie Brooker's stuff.
Right.
That's me in a ginger wig. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no! I have started 104 sitcoms and about 9 films, and they're all brilliant and will be possibly will be remembered for changing the face of comedy when I finish one of them.
Great.
Yeah. Do you know what fun? I was just thinking this. I was just thinking about this today. I had a couple of ideas that I'd started writing, and I've lost the pads they're on. I've been trying to find them, but years ago, and I've had so many bits and pieces of ideas that were probably brilliant, and I've never actually done it because I've got that problem. I don't know if you. I know a lot of people do this, but I really struggle with the idea of a first draft. If I'm not going to sit down and write Pride and Prejudice like word for word there and then, I really struggle with the idea of getting started in the first place. Yeah. And as soon as something's not perfect, I then struggle to go back. And that's bollocks, and it's probably cowardice, probably somewhere at the heart of it. But it's also that weird, you know, it's that paralysis you get because something's not perfect. You never do anything good.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I've done that a lot. But I'm not dead yet. You never know. Watch this space.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you know, I think of myself very much as the new Sarah Pascoe. So, you know.
The starting this stuff as well. I mean, when I first started this podcast, like many years ago now, there was a couple of times when I was doing the intros to it and I was like, you know what? I've done this intro 50 times nearly now, and I've just literally I don't give a shit about it anymore. And this is like just pushing that kind of like I want it to be perfect, and it's never going to be perfect, is it? So you just got to let it go and just see how you go with it. But I know what you're saying. Is there any tricks that you do to kind of make yourself right?
I book myself new material nights.
Yeah.
So I've got to do something. I have to be honest. I'm not going to process at the minute. I've rather fallen out of it. Yeah. Partly because of the illness. I've just stopped doing everything. Yeah. I used to use The Artist's Way, the Julia Cameron series. I don't know if you've seen it. Yep. I found that really helpful. I sidestepped the God stuff. Yeah. She was very religious when she wrote. She actually went back and corrected some of that, but it's okay. That's doable. And actually journaling, I think that's the thing that when I do it, that's when I get really creative. Yeah. If you sit down before you do anything else in the day and write 3 sides of A4, then stuff comes. It's sort of just clearing out. It's like running the tap to get the hot water. You eventually will come through hot. And when I have done that in the past, and I'm not doing it at the minute, and I keep meaning to start doing it again, but when I do that, I get a few weeks of rubbish, and then things start to come. Yeah. And indeed, my novelist friend who has, you know, her 3rd book out with HarperCollins and is on her 4th, she swears by it. She says, you know, all of her stuff comes from the morning pages, as she calls it. So that I suppose that's the best. Again, it's the thing, write every day, do it all the time. The other thing I always do, actually, and I do find this useful because I do often write inverted commas things on stage, stuff happens on stage, is I always record my gigs when I'm doing a set. Yeah. I've always got my phone on in my pocket. I've actually got into the habit of going, I must keep that on stage. And consequently, you can find it later. Yeah. And I do jot those things down. I do make myself write things down, even if they don't work again. I can sometimes get bits and pieces out of them. Yeah. So I suppose that's it. I mean, I'm not a very prolific writer, and I think that's the thing I want to correct this year. That would be my resolution for the year, is to get back to, because there was a period where I was writing a lot, and I did write. I had a murder mystery comedy drama spoof thing that I was writing, and that's, you know, half done, and I had another thing. Where
It's still a mystery. It's still a mystery, right?
I was this weird semi-human. Well, it wasn't clear what I was in a sort of bookshop thing. Right. I don't even know how to describe that I was writing, and I did do quite a lot of that writing. Great. And I've been doing some. I've been experimenting with other bits and pieces, but it hasn't actually been stand up. But I think that's the other thing, is that just doing something, just writing anything, is better than doing nothing. And the other thing that I actually found useful, when I did get really blocked and couldn't do anything, I started drawing. And I'm dreadful. I'm not a great artist by any stretch. And colouring in, I've got an adult colouring in book, and I've got a sketch pad. When I can't think of anything to write, sometimes I just do a bit of that. And I think, again, it's like turning on the tap to get the hot water through. Doing something creative sort of helps. Yeah, definitely. Gets the juices flowing, sort of thing. Gets, as you so rightly say, the juices flowing. Like you've been gone 20 years nearly. Like what is? You keep saying that. I was 4 when I started. So, like, well, you know, jazz hands and everything. It's like the when did like, well, you know, there's a moment in your comedy career when you went, oh my god, this like, what's the highlight of your career so far? Like, you know. Oh, the highlight. Yeah. Well, it's really hard. That wasn't what I thought you were going to ask. I thought you were going to ask when it was I realised I could do it.
Oh, okay. Well, go for both of those things.
That's really easy. That's the moment I remember, and so I suppose that's the highlight, really. And it was that very first time on stage. It sounds rather arrogant, but it was that first time I was doing that community lesbian and gay thing, and I was absolutely terrified. And I'd done a lot of stage work, so I was used to nerves, but this was something unbelievable. And what we'd agreed was there was the first half full of lesbians singing about their girlfriends that left them. Oh, and there was this guy who was a stand-up comedian, inverted commas, and I'd written like 10 minutes of stuff, and I was doing 10 minutes, and it was like a monologue. And so I went to him and said, can I just ask you, because this is the first time I've done this, what it is you're going to talk about, because I'm just a bit worried that, you're going on first and I might have the same jokes as you, even though what I'd written was completely personal. And he was horrible to me. Horrible. And he went on and died on his arse, and I've never seen him again. So, sorry, I'm so sorry. I want to let that go. That's bad karma. He'd done it before, though, so I don't know. Anyway, and anyway, so I was going to go, rather than them start the second half, we were going to wait till the audience came in, and I was going to walk on and go, ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan Mayer, and I was going to go, oh, it's me, hooray, and that's sort of how I started. I was very, very nervous, and I put on my makeup, put on costume, and then we got to the interval, and I started to genuinely freak out. I was like really, really struggling to breathe. I was almost on the brink of a panic attack. And the audience started. I'm actually making myself feel really. I can feel it now. Just telling you the story, and I was absolutely just. Oh my god! I'm going to have to. I can't. Yeah. And then suddenly, just as a stage manager said, "And we're going to bring the house lights down," and just before she turned to me and said, "There you go," something just clicked in my head, and it was like going into Matrix time. I was like, well, now I am ready. Like this, like really like, okay, let's do this shit. And I walked out, and I had an absolute ball. I can barely remember it, and I know some of it. I can actually use some of the jokes that I used that night, but not a lot. I know that quite a lot of it was a bit weak, but it got a really good reception there because it was very different from what they'd already had in the show. And they were a very lovely audience. I've actually just done an online version for them, on online return. It was a joy. But I just remember in the midst of this sort of fog with me doing this monologue that I'd learned and getting these laughs. And I'd never had an audience laugh like that because I'd always been a singer or an actor. So when I was acting, the laughs were in the script. They weren't mine. Yeah. And if I was a singer, if people started rolling about in the aisles, I'd have been really worried. This was this actual thing where I was making this audience laugh. It was just magical. Yeah. And I remember at that moment, I had this diamond hard certainty sort of somewhere in the middle of my chest where I thought, I can do this. I may not be good at it now. I may never be the best at it, but I can really do this. It was quite extraordinary, and that little diamond has got me through all the bits where the corporates where you die on your whole stuff. You remember that one? You remember that? Do you remember that? It's still there. It's okay. Or the semi-final of So You Think You're Funny with my two university friends in the room where I died on my hole. Oh, right. Went on after Greg Davis, who I've never forgiven. Nothing to do with him. Never met him. I'm sure he's an absolute charmer, but he went on and went, ladies, I bet you're worried about your testosterone, your ovaries are fluttering. And that was my opening. That was what I did in heels and makeup. Ladies, I bet your ovaries are fluttering. It was like I was like, ladies. It was awful. And then I had the rest of the evening with my two university friends going, well, we thought you were funny. No. So that little certainty, that moment where I kind of went, I can do this. That was amazing. That was a really amazing moment. So I suppose that, in some ways, that very first bit. Wow. Was a highlight. Although there have been loads of other things that were just amazing. I mean, it's like doing the vigil for Manchester Pride is not exactly a comedy moment, but that was so amazing. Standing in front of however many thousands and thousands of people there are in that incredibly emotional time when they're lighting their candles in the vigil, and just nothing like it. Or the main stage at Pride where there's sort of 10,000 people yelling. Wow. you know, that was incredible, and I've met all these amazing people. The rest of it's just been jam, frankly, darling.
Jam, great. You're in the final for So You Think You're Funny, right? And what are the chances
semi-finals?
Sorry, semifinals.
That Greg Davis threw in that, yeah. Never liked him.
How did he have the same line? What are the chances?
Christian Knowles said to me afterwards, what you've done is you've been really honest, because it says, you know, you shouldn't have done 100 gigs, and I had, in fact, it was like my 11th gig or something. It was really, really early on. So because this was 2002, so it was like the April I started, and then this would be the August. And he said all the rest of them have been going more than a year. Right, the rest of them have lied.
Yes.
And I went, and of course, what I probably should have done was gone back next year, but I felt like it would be chancing my arm too far. Yeah. But basically, I had no equipment. But it was just the sheerest chance. Not only that, but it was sheer random. Yeah. It was like we were randomly selected. Jeez. So I could have been on before him. Yeah. In which case, I doubt that he'd have died in the same way. But I was still going off my 10-minute bit that I prepared that night, not the same 10-minute bit that I had in April, but by that point I was writing a 10-minute bit, and that was what I was going to do, and I didn't really have the ability to flex. It's amazing how it's experiences like that made me go, you know what, I'm going to need to make sure that in that situation again, I don't have to go on and say what the other person has just said. So I actually started to go, okay, I'm going to start improvising now. So may have done me the world of good. Well, it did do me the world of good, but it was still Greg bloody Davis.
Yeah, I mean,
one of these days I'll meet him on Graham Norton's sofa and I'll tell him this story, and we'll laugh, Winter, we'll laugh.
That's it. But the chances of that are, you know,
it was such an extraordinary thing, and it was almost word for word as well. It was. Wow. It was quite like, I was like, oh my god.
Wow. And damn it.
Yeah, it was just, and it was just enough that it's like enough of his first minute was enough of my first minute that it just totally threw me as well. And as you say, a lot of what I do on stage is about me being, hi, it's me, do it. And of course I was like,
oh no. So no wind in the sails at all, like no not floating at all.
No sails, no wind.
God
was
damn
very,
it. That's it. There's nothing that can stop after
silence, and also kind of I didn't even have the nerve really to just go, you know what? This isn't working, is it? I'm leaving. So I dragged myself through 10 minutes of it.
God damn it.
It was hellish. Hellish.
Damn it. Oh, hey, look, semi-finals. Amazing. After 11 gigs.
Semi-finals is what you get. Oh, well, yes, that is amazing, and I'm amazing. But let's just put that on the tape. No, it's semi-finals. You do the heats in the local area, and you go through your semi-final. You don't. So I'd won the heat. I mean, that's it, really.
Oh, right. No, but even so, amazing. I mean, we're going to talk about the whole gig again, right? We're going to talk about the whole gig again. So, anyway.
I have done other gigs that I've done well in, thanks.
No, it doesn't matter. Shit. Fuck them. Fuck it, doesn't matter. Fuck it, they're shit. They're shit. The whole gig was amazing.
That's just all I've got, yeah. I just cling to that.
But we'll tell you what, we'll just insert. You tell me what name you want me to insert, and I'll put it in the tape. Okay, it'll be fine.
If you could just record it
Apollo.
lots of times and just put in various major cities.
Yeah,
just go. That Plymouth gig was marvellous. That Rugby gig was marvellous.
You talked about Fringe earlier on. Like, how many shows have you done?
No, I haven't.
You just stand up circuit half an hours and 45s and stuff.
I've never done my own show at the Fringe, not as a whole show. No.
Yeah.
Because I did start going to the Fringe. I gradually built up doing various times and things like that, and then I stupidly, very last minute really as well, went up with a group show with two comedians who I still really love, Doug Shelmadine, who stopped doing comedy now but was very good, and Michael J. Dolan. I don't know if you know that name. He's not been very well, but he is brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. But what I realised, or what I discovered in that run, was that the people who come to see me doing comedy don't necessarily go to the same comedy that I go to see, if you see what I mean.
Right.
And consequently the show was very uneven, and people who liked them tended not to like me, and vice versa. So one of us was, if they were getting laughs, I probably wasn't going to. If they weren't getting laughs, I would. It was most unfortunate. Again, a good lesson to learn, but a bit of a hard way of learning it. And then there were terrible problems with the venue. It was the GRV, and the heating was all, like melting wires and no air conditioning.
Ugh.
And we were on 11 and people fainting and handing out water. And they gave me my rent back, but the damage was done. And they hadn't sorted out a contract with the venue, so they closed on Friday and Saturday night an hour before my gig. Bit of a problem.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a problem. So it was just an end-to-end disaster, and it took me a long time to pay off the money that I lost.
Right.
And I never went back.
Yeah.
Because partly fear, partly my mum was diagnosed with Alzheimer's not long after that. Leon had been diagnosed with Parkinson's the year before. So there was a lot going on. And I have to be honest, I wasn't willing to take the time out to go to Edinburgh while ever my mum was coherent. And then it sort of wasn't really on the cards when she was iller. And all of this has been a brilliant excuse for the fact that I find the idea positively terrifying, you see. Yeah, it's a mixture of a concatenation. And I suppose if I'd been absolutely determined to go to Edinburgh, then I would still have been able to do it. But, I can't honestly pretend I'm overexcited about Edinburgh. I have to say, I think if I'd done it when I very first started, that might have been a good idea. I think certainly up until, God knows what it'll be like now. I don't know what's going to happen now. Yeah. But up until now, it was so huge and so difficult that actually, unless you went up with a plan and the contacts sort of in place and the networking sort of done, you weren't going to be discovered at the Edinburgh Festival. It's a very limited value for somebody like myself, particularly for somebody like myself I'm not new. A lot of people know who I am and have opinions about me. Whether they're accurate or not, I can't say. But I'm not unless I do something radically different. Yeah. I'm not going to change anybody's mind about me.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know how much value Edinburgh has for someone like me at this point. I mean, who knows? Everything's up in the air, isn't it, again? Yeah. And everything changes. Who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of years? It might well be worth my while to get my bum in gear and get up there, as things kick off again. That might be one way to get myself back on the circuit, apart from the else, and indeed move on. But whether it would have been in the last few years, I can't say. But yeah, there's been a lot of personal stuff, which has meant it's not really been a possibility.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, it's a bit of a serious.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's been great to talk to you.
Well, I've also as a result of those things, I've also had quite some big issues with sobriety. Over the last few years.
Okay, right.
And so
it's not the right place.
That's not a really good way to go to Edinburgh.
That's very true.
Go up for a month and get pissed is not a brilliant idea.
The Lion's Den, really, isn't it? It's just like, okay, let's go into there. Yeah, just Temptation Alley.
But I'm being sober now feels like a good place to be, and maybe it'll be going up with that in mind. It will be a different thing. So lots of. I'm sorry, Winston. I've brought the mood down. Winston.
Not at all. Still think you're amazing. It's great.
I love you too. I don't know who you are. I don't know who you even met. I don't know how you know about home.
I heard about it. Like, so it's an amazing comedian, Winter Phonander. He was there. He probably saw you did a gig, and he's pretty good. He did set it up for the closing act, Jonathan Mayer, who smashed the balls off the gig. He was so giving and sacrificing himself for the first 3 minutes by not getting any laughs.
Like a dark Celtic river running over my nipples.
Like a warrior. He just went in there
like a warrior. Not like a dark Celtic river running over my nipples. That's my image.
Dark Celtic. Is that you? Sorry, are we describing ourselves here? I'm not sure.
You're clearly of the two of us. I think you're. Well, actually, I have got Celt in me.
That's fine. Hey.
My mother. But I was thinking of your little Irish self there.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. You're convalescing at the moment, just getting better and like not just eating, getting happy and kind of a bit more energized again. Just recovering basically from COVID. So what do you do? Like, I mean, okay, but before pre-COVID, what do you do to kind of like, during lockdown to kind of get you, just get through the day? Like, what do you do?
Wank, darling. Obviously, that's the thing. 20 years married.
I was wondering what that noise was. Do you know what I mean? I was just like,
sorry about that. I did think we got that off the microphone. No. What do? Well, the dog. Honestly, Leon and I pre-COVID. I mean, this is the the tragic thing is we used to walk the dog, especially, well, obviously when we could only take her out for an hour, we only took her out for an hour. But as soon as that was lifted, we spent the summer walking, which was wonderful, actually, and really, really nice. So yeah, the walking, and I found that very therapeutic. I took up knitting for about 5 minutes, and then I gave it right back up again. Bloody awful. I don't know if you've tried it.
Yeah, I have tried it, actually. I tried to, what were you trying to knit, a jumper or a cardigan or what?
No, I was trying to just knit along, and it came out looking like a spider had vomited on my needle.
That's funny. I remember when I was a kid, I tried knitting a tie. I was because that's what you want, a tie, isn't it? Everyone wants a knitted tie, right? I mean, yeah.
How old are you?
Well, it was actually when I was first in like primary school, you know.
Was it fashionable in those days?
No, I just thought to myself, I don't want to fucking knit a jumper because I will have to get it like really intricate.
Did you have to knit a thing?
Yeah,
so
thing.
You decided a long, thin thing. Fair enough. That makes sense. That makes complete sense. I respect that thinking.
Yeah. You'd have to take any turns. It's like, right, I'm just going to go one direction.
I'm going to knit myself a tiny, tiny scarf. That's what I'm going to do.
That's it. There you go.
That is a brilliant piece of thinking. I love it.
I was always avoiding work. That's what it is, man.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
I get it. That's fine.
That's great. What's the next step? I mean, apart from getting better?
Fuck knows, darling. I mean, honestly, we're all just awaiting. I'm in a pretty lucky situation. I've got my partner, and you know, we've got our little home. We're the mortgage people are being very nice, but we are living on the credit of the bank at the minute. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I honestly, I veer between thinking I'll never ever get on stage again to being absolutely determined that it will happen again. But you tell me. I don't think anybody knows at this stage. It depends. It depends what happens in terms of the vaccine. It depends what happens in terms of the economy.
Yeah.
I mean, Brexit's now taking us in its firm little grip, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in the end, comedy, we're a luxury good.
Yeah,
we're something that can be cut out of the monthly budget.
Yeah.
I suppose that's again one of the reasons I'm starting to sit down and think about writing again, is because I've got to do something creative, and you know, that's something I can do at minimal cost and do even though I'm locked down. But it's very bizarre. Occasionally I have a little panic and think, oh my God, my diary. And then, no, there's nothing in your diary, Jonathan. It's all right.
It's okay.
The reason you don't know what's... And weekends, I still struggle about Wednesday or Thursday. I'm thinking, I've not booked a train ticket. What am I doing? And then I'll have a little flutter, you know, when you're sort of half awake in the morning. Oh my God, where am I going this weekend? You're going nowhere, love. Nowhere. So yeah, I mean, I'm ready. I have my own microphone, and my own wipes and my various masks, and I'm prepared to dress entirely in hazmat suit to gig again. I'm just I'm waiting for it all to start, really.
Do you travel from Manchester to gig, Jonathan?
Yes, I do. I don't drive at the minute. That's been my other little problem with COVID, the whole COVID situation, is that prior to this, not driving was much less of a problem. It's not been ideal, and I did start to learn and blah blah blah. Sobriety. I will probably look into learning, but of course you can't learn to drive now. You can't car share, and public transport is now a real issue. So it's but prior to this, I do object. You know, we've got a climate emergency on our hands. I live in, you know, one of our biggest cities in a developed country. I should be able to get to where I need to go and come home again without trouble, without a car. But there we are.
But you have to leave at 6 a.m, don't you, to get 4 trains to get to where the fuck you need to get to.
I've sacrificed a lot of time, I would say that, I've either stayed over at places or I've travelled, you know, long hours. But again, I've sort of, it's been part of the job, and I've really... the journeys home are the problem, I suppose. That's the journeys home are the ones that I don't particularly like. The really late night journeys home with lots of changes and drunk people. Travelling out is quite exciting because you're going to the gig and you're going to a different place in the country. Staying over is time consuming, but again, you travel in the day and you see the country. You get to wander around somewhere on a Sunday, you know, lunchtime, and see places that you wouldn't otherwise ever visit. So there are pluses.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I never would have been to Hull if I hadn't...
well, why would you?
Like, this is very true.
No, that's terrible. I love you, Hull. I love you.
I'm happy to go back there anytime.
I was surprised. Did you actually see anything of Hull? I was
just
surprised
the bridge.
how pretty there were bits of it. There were bits of it that were genuinely pretty. And they've got a street called Land of Green Ginger. I mean, that's amazing. That's like a fairy town.
Yeah. Yeah. I only saw a little bit of it. Yeah, yes, weirdly. I say, I mean, that I thought their cash converter was it looked like a church to me. To be fair, I don't know why it was like that.
The cash converter is a church.
Yeah.
The club was a cash converter.
Converted cash converters.
The church is now in a car park.
Ah, right. Okay, good. That's good. Yeah, social distancing. So Jonathan. So that's the next move. Yeah, just sort of trying to get back into it and trying to hopefully restart the comedy.
I tell you what, if I could just go back to earning a living as a comedy again, I would be a very happy bunny. I was a really happy circuit comic. Brilliant. I loved my job, and I loved all the bits and pieces, ups and downs of it. I loved being on the circuit and bobbing around the country and making people laugh. Yeah. That as a way to make your living, that was just a glorious thing to do. Yeah. And I'm glad to say I loved it at the time. I'm not just saying this in retrospect. I genuinely loved doing it. I'm just really missing it. I'd love to get back to it.
Same.
I suppose that again still makes me lucky. I'm still lucky. I've still got a house. I've still got more food in the house than even I can eat, and I can really go for it if I want to. and I have a job that I actually miss as opposed to one that I hate. So that hooray!
Utter privilege, isn't it? It is such
a glorious thing to do. I think there was a point at the Frog and Bucket where I said to a room full of people, however many people that would be when it was full, 400 something. And I said, who's been working this week? And I said, who's got a job that they love? And there was silence. And then I said, who's got a job they hate? And the whole room screamed. I just carried on with, we're having a drink on a weekend. Yeah, it's okay. But I actually thought, my God, my job is to be the thing you've looked forward to this week, to be part of. I mean, not me. Well, they didn't come out to see Jonathan Mayer, but I was going to be the thing. I was the thing they've been saying since Wednesday. We're going to the comedy on Friday night or Saturday night, and that next week they go, we went to see a great comedy show last week. Oh, it was brilliant. I'm gonna be something that keeps them, helps them get through, and makes them laugh and makes it worthwhile. I'm the thing that they've worked for rather than the work, and that's my work. And that was a wonderful moment to realise that you're the thing that's giving them the joy rather than the pain in the neck.
Oh, Jonathan, well, John, it's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to talk to you for over an hour, man.
It's been has it really been?
Yeah, it's been great.
It's flown because I'm so fascinating.
It's very true. Pleasure. Where can we find you, Jonathan, apart from Manchester at home?
In my home. If you want to pop round, darling, I am open to gentlemen callers, but you'll have to wear a mask throughout. Fine. And pop it through the letterbox, and I'll deal with it in this side. You can't, love. You can't. There's nothing happening. No.
Twitters or anything like that, or
you mean that kind of find me? Oh, I see. Oh, well, that does make more sense. Yes, I'm on Twitter as at Jonathan. Well, in fact, Jonathan Mayer is the way to find me. JONATHANMAYOR, and that's who I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Jonathan Mayer. Or Jonathan Mayer. That's the best place. If I do anything, I post it up on there.
Great.
And I do occasionally get online gigs and bits and pieces. Yes. And I suppose that's the other thing I should tell you. It's on Facebook, although I haven't done it for a long time because I've been so ill, but I am wanting to get back to it. I've got a thing called Jonathan Mayer Reads, and that's just at Jonathan Mayer Reads, READS. And it's me reading silly camp stories and kids stories. I've done quite a few kids stories for my grandchildren and Map and Lucia and one or two other bits and pieces. And I've got to get back to it because I'm halfway through the second book of Map and Lucia, and everybody must be on the edge of their seats wondering what happens because I couldn't see my grandchildren, the world's most surprising grandchildren. Didn't see that coming. And there's a mystery for you to find out about next time you interview me. Because I couldn't see them, I started doing bedtime stories for them. So
nice.
Yeah, find those if you like.
Great. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
A pleasure.
And till the next time.
I don't know what we're doing now. We're leaving a gap so you can finish. That was Winter Fernando with Jonathan Mayer. Pretending to be in different rooms, but actually I'm sat on his lap.
Well, thank you, Jonathan.
That's all right, Winter.
And that was episode 96 with the excellent Jonathan Mayer. If you ever see him on a bill, go and check him out. Maybe a bit of town hall, comedy club, he'd be at a festival, tent, on a roof outside. Where could we play these days? I don't know. We could play anywhere these days. But if you ever see him on a bill, go and check him out. He's absolutely excellent. You won't be disappointed. If you're a promoter, book this guy. He is living in the Manchester area, and I'm going to try and get him down for the Hemel Hempstead and Abbots Langley gigs as well in the next couple of months, because he's absolutely excellent. I say, if you're a promoter, book this guy. He's excellent. Support a Sarah Millican. Come on. And that was episode 96, as I say. Now, you can support this podcast and you can go to the Facebook page, like the page there. We have a Facebook group, which is called The Comedy Defect Facebook group, a very original name. And if you like this podcast enough and you feel like you want to donate, go to Patreon, type in The Comedy Defect Podcast and donate as much or as little as you feel this podcast is worth. And if you can't donate, that's all right. Money's tight for everyone. Just share your favorite episode. Tell your friends about us, because it tells people where we are and what we're up to. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Winter Dominus. I'm there on Instagram and also Twitter. I've got 77 followers on Twitter because I deleted my account and started again because I want to go through all the tweets to see if there was any jokes in there, and that is why I have hardly any followers. Look, I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm humble. Look, if you want to follow me, follow me. If you don't, that's cool too, because it might sort of spur me on to start tweeting, but you know what? It doesn't. I'm on Instagram loads anyway if you want to follow me there. And as I say, we're on all the Facebook groups, all that stuff. If you want to donate, do. If you don't, that's cool. That's cool. Keep listening. Comment on the episodes. That really helps too. Now, that's it for this episode. And next month, we have another excellent comedian, and I've used them many times. It is Aaron Levine for episode 97. So that was it for March. We got through it, guys. We're heading past spring and getting closer to summer. So next month, for April, end of April, last Wednesday of the month, Aaron Levine for episode 97. Until then, have a great April.